We're in hard times and some of us are going to need a lawyer. And if you need a lawyer, don't just react to a TV commercial. Get a copy of the Lawyers Consumer Directory, which is available absolutely free of charge at any 7-Eleven store throughout Central Florida. The Lawyers Consumer Directory is going to give you real hardcore knowledge on how to hire a lawyer and a lot of information on issues like bankruptcy, foreclosure, and more. Get the Lawyers Consumer Directory. It's absolutely free of charge at any 7-Eleven throughout Central Florida.
Ahora puedes demostrar tu orgullo hispano mientras manejas en la carretera con la nueva tablilla o placa de auto hispana conmemorando los 500 años del descubrimiento de Florida por Juan Ponce de León.
Obtén tu tablilla hispana este año y harás la diferencia.
Solo 1,000 se necesitan para hacerla permanente.
Su donativo ayudará a estudiantes con becas.
Nuestra comunidad se beneficiará con más programas y servicios.
Resalta nuestra cultura, nuestras raíces.
Demostremos que en la unión está la fuerza.
Obtén tu tablilla hispana en el Departamento de Vehículos de Motor más cercano o llama hoy al 321-277-0850.
Hi, I'm Danny Ramos, and welcome to this week's edition of Hispanic Speak Out TV, brought to you every week for the past 9 years on Bright House Cable. We want to extend our thank you to Bright House Cable for allowing Hispanics to view their opinions on their TV network every week. Thank you, Bright House. Tonight, we're going to be talking about Puerto Rico statehood. We're going to have Dennis Freitas, Colonel Dennis Freitas. He's a well-known community activist here in Central Florida. He'll be discussing the Puerto Rico issue of statehood and the civil, which is combined with the civil rights issue as well. I'm here with Jose and Daisy. Okay, welcome, welcome.
Thank you.
Okay.
No.
You don't like my beard, huh? You got a beard. Let's talk about things that are happening in the news. Let's talk about unions first, okay? You know, we almost lost Twinkies. Okay, now when I was a kid, I worked in my father's grocery store.
We almost lost, or they said they lost it. They put fire from
no, but they have somebody, they also said that they have a very good offer from a major company to buy all the brands and reinstitute the brands and get rid of the unions. Now that was announced last week.
Those big bad unions that just crushed the cupcake business.
18,000 people are out of work because of one union. There were 3 unions involved.
You buy that?
What?
This guy got himself a raise for millions of dollars.
So what?
Oh, I'm sorry. He was due
so
that.
So what? So what are you saying? That if I'm making $1 million, I shouldn't be making $1 million if I work for it?
Wait a minute. He filed bankruptcy twice.
Isn't that what Romney did?
What's that?
Filed bankruptcy and made his millions and then decided to be a president?
Wait a second.
No, I mean, it sounds like the same concept
what
to
is
me.
wrong?
Okay, go ahead.
Hey,
what is wrong
that's
with
the
a
way to go, I want to start filing bankruptcy.
His own business.
Right.
Now, let's say that I have a business and I've been working in that business for 30, 40 years and I built it up into a business.
Okay.
Okay? And I'm the guy who invested the original money and I'm the guy who was there 7 days a week for 10 years.
Right.
Okay? Now I built a business.
Okay.
What right does anybody have to come and tell me what to do with my business that I built up? They can work for me if they want, or if they don't want to work for me, they don't have to work. They'll let them go somewhere else.
Well, did you agree in a contract with a group of people to have a set kind of thing for your for your workers, so that they can work under a safe environment and get paid decently?
If I agreed in that contract,
you agreed in it, right?
Okay, I'm going to give you an answer. If I agreed to that contract, and then the world changes, just like it did with General Motors, and just like it did with Ford and Chrysler, and it comes to the point that it's going to go out of business and everybody's going to lose. Right. Then you put before them a change.
Right.
Now, if those people don't want to take
options.
the change,
what options does the union give them? And that's what it boils down to. What option did the unions give them? The only options that it was is, okay, either you accept this or we fire you. Those are not options.
No, well, you accept this or we go out of business. So you look at the numbers. The numbers is something that, you know, the guys at the top they should make their money. They're the guys who run the organization. They're the ones who take a lot of the liability.
Even though you filed Chapter 13, okay, let's start from this premise. You filed a Chapter 13, which means...
Listen, I'm going to give you a better example. I'm going to give you a better example, okay? I deal with
liquidate. When you liquidate, that means you're not broke. That means you're taking
the physical assets and selling them.
Exactly, and you have money. You don't stay broke.
Yeah, but
you just start all over once you liquidate all the assets.
That does not mean that you can keep those assets functioning if you don't have cash flow.
Yeah, but you can start all over. You start with a new slate, and that's pretty much what they want to do.
No,
they want to start with a new slate.
They're selling the brand.
Which is starting a new slate. They can have the same ingredients with the same type of products.
That is my right as a business owner.
Okay, but what I'm saying is you're cleaning up the slate. You're getting rid of people making, let's say, however much money they're making because they've been there forever.
So
loyal employees, and now you want to get rid of them because you're saying
I'm not saying I want to get rid of them. I'm saying the company can no longer in the economy, just like General Motors. They couldn't afford the unions anymore.
But they negotiated with the unions.
Correct.
And the unions gave
Well, you
back.
want to know something? I negotiated to have Social Security, which I've been paying for 30 years, and I'm not getting it back.
Yeah, but it's not about you right now. It's about the union and it's about the Twinkies. Let's talk about Twinkies right now.
Oh,
it's not about you, okay?
Okay.
Twinkies. Okay, do you like Twinkies? Because I like Twinkies.
You like Twinkies?
I like Twinkies. I don't want Twinkies to go out of business. I want them to come to a happy medium and talk to the employees.
You're going to have Twinkies, but it's going to be non-union Twinkies.
It's not going to be the same.
And you know where it's going to be? No, it's going to be Twinkies. It's going to be it's going to have a Mexican hat on it. It's going to be made in Mexico. Twinkies will be made in Mexico, just like a lot of our cars and a lot of our products.
Okay.
Except for the ones made in China.
I won't disagree with you
When
there.
was the last time that you bought a product that wasn't made in China? You know what I did? A week ago, I started going everywhere. Best Buy, Walmart, wherever I went, I wanted to know where the product was made. There was nothing made in the United States.
You're correct.
It was all made in China.
You're correct.
Why?
It's very rare that you see anything that says made in USA. It's very rare.
Very rare. Why?
Because we send everything overseas.
Why?
Because it's cheaper.
It's cheaper to get it done over there. So companies are resorting, they have to make a profit, they're resorting to take their manufacturing away
But this is the biggest concern. You reside in the United States of America. You're trying to make money in the United States of America. But yet you want cheap labor outside of the United States of America.
Listen, you want to know something?
How does that cycle work?
It's not a question. You want labor to keep your company going.
But it's a cycle that doesn't work. You want to make a product that people that are buying the product are also benefiting from it.
Dave, I'm going to give you an example. Okay, here's a perfect example. I've been dealing with unions directly for a long, long time. I've been dealing with all the locals in New York. Okay, I contract unions. All right? Now, how many little bags of money have I passed around to unions, or my show will not go on schedule? Okay? That's has happened to me, where I had to make payoffs, okay, or else my show would not open on time. If my show was scheduled to open at 12 noon...
You're admitting to illegal activity.
Exactly.
No,
what's that about?
I mean, and it's neither here nor there. Yeah.
Well, I got news for you, okay? Am I confessing to something?
Are you confessing to bribery, man?
This is a matter of record at the U.S. Attorney's Office.
On national
TV.
You're confessing to
I testified.
bribery.
All right, listen. I testified before the grand jury on organized crime that had to do with union corruption. I testified, okay, before a grand jury, okay, and that actually happened. So I know the union thing firsthand. I know what's being done. I was in New York 2 weeks ago, okay, where I got a bill from a union worker for $1,250, and he wasn't even there. He was not on premise. I went to the manager of the establishment or the organization. I said, where is this guy? He sent me a bill for $1,250. He said, well, here's the bill, but he left. He went home. I said, I'm supposed to have him here for a shift. I'm paying for a shift. He said, well, he's not here. He went home. I'm in an argument right now with that establishment. We're going back and forth to negotiate, okay, for that shift, which I don't want to pay for, okay, and the guy wasn't there. Okay. Now, I used to do the Jacob Javits Convention Center in New York, okay? I was a major show organizer in that building. Okay? Everything was what I'm talking about right now. Okay.
But I think in this era, we don't need unions. I mean, unions.
You want to know something? We do.
No, we don't. Because back in the days, there was a lot of discrimination. Yes, there's still some here.
Listen,
yes,
I'm a union hater.
I understand
and I think that unions have their purpose.
No.
It's
unions
just that
to
they
me,
abuse
okay,
what
a
they're
union
doing.
to me is like an HOA. They take all your money, they suck you dry for whatever reason. They say they're going to defend you and protect you from your employer or whatever. At the end of the day, something happens, and they're more on the employer side than on the employee. So here I am giving, just like my HOA, and I have to say this, I hate paying HOAs because they say they're going to do all this stuff.
What's
and
an HOA?
Homeowners Association.
Oh, that's another one.
Yeah,
Don't get me rolling on that.
No, but it's similar to the union. You give out all this money and you expect them, if you have an issue, for them to defend you. You're paying them all this money. Defend me when I need you. So back in the days, unions were created to defend minorities, to defend the person cleaning the restroom, and let's say the head honcho comes in and sexually abuses her, things like that, and nobody cared because, oh, she's just the cleaning lady. Unions were made for that type of protection. Now, things are a little bit civil. I mean, not 100%, but that's what unions were for. They were there to help the employees, to protect them.
So what are they now?
To just suck your money and to negotiate supposedly in favor of employees against employers, and they don't do that. That's my opinion. They don't do that.
You're glad you work in the state of Florida then.
Well, the state of Florida, I can say yes. I can say yes.
Right to work state.
The right to work. I mean, if you do your job, you have a job. If you don't do your job, get rid of them.
I did a concert. Okay, I was a concert promoter, a big concert promoter, really, really up on top. I do a concert. Okay? Mixing boards for all the musicians, mixing boards. I had 7, 8 guys just working the mixing boards for the concert. Okay? Union comes over. Okay? Those guys cannot work those mixing boards. What do you mean they can't work? We have to work them. But what the hell do you know about the music? Well, we don't know anything about the music. But this is a union building. We have to work the mixing boards or else your concert doesn't go. Okay? How do we fix this? Come into the other room. Okay? I had to pay all of the union guys to go home. Double time on a Saturday. On a Saturday night, they got paid double to allow me to pay the guys who knew how to run the mixing boards. That's how I landed up in where I told you.
Right.
Okay? And that's the full pendulum going all the way to the other side. And now what's happened is it's going back the other way because people like me and other people who work with unions have reacted to that. I went out of the concert, I stopped doing it because I just didn't want to deal with it anymore.
So you think there's absolutely no purpose for unions?
I do. You want to know something? I think that there's always a purpose for open, positive dialogue to prevent the exploitation.
But that's what consultants are for. Why don't you just hire consultants?
But I don't think right now.
Consultants do the same.
We have the government. The government has minimum wage laws, discrimination laws, sexual abuse laws. All of those laws are there, and you can go directly to the government. You don't need a union to pay union dues to keep a couple of guys.
That's a universe issue. That means that whatever happens in Florida with the minimum wage is affected in other states. But unions are not the same way. They're not run the same way. Unions are specialized. It could be a union for the firefighters. It could be a union for people that work in mechanics. It's specialized. It's not a universal thing.
The way a union operates depends on what they're servicing.
Exactly.
I think police officers need unions. I think firemen need unions, and there's. I guess we could talk about that at another time. So,
well, we're going to run out of time, and we got about 30 seconds left, okay? But, as far as, I think that the unions are right, but I think everything has to be in proportion to the proper wage that a person should get paid for doing a job.
Right.
Okay? I don't think that a guy working in Walmart on a cash register should make what a nurse or doctor makes. Okay? That's impractical. He doesn't have, if he wanted to get that money, he should have gone to school and trained for it. And because you get a gang together to threaten an employer, that doesn't mean you should be paid that. But anyway, okay, this is Hispanic Speak Out TV. We'll see you next week. We're going to continue the union conversation. And we did not talk about the Obama campaign. We didn't talk about ORMC, but we'll do it next week, okay? All right. Thanks, Jose.
No.
Daisy, gracias. Muchas gracias. Nice to have you here. This is Danny Ramos, Hispanic Speak Out. We will see you next week. By the way, I'm sorry, but we are going to do a conversation right now with Dennis Freitas on Puerto Rican statehood. We're going to take a break so you can see a lot of my commercials, and then we will be right back. We're in hard times, and some of us are going to need a lawyer. And if you need a lawyer, don't just react to a TV commercial. Get a copy of the Lawyers Consumer Directory, which is available absolutely free of charge at any 7-Eleven store throughout Central Florida. The Lawyers Consumer Directory is going to give you real hardcore knowledge on how to hire a lawyer and a lot of information on issues like bankruptcy, foreclosure, and more. Get the Lawyers Consumer Directory. It's absolutely free of charge at any 7-Eleven throughout Central Florida.
Ahora puedes demostrar tu orgullo hispano mientras manejas en la carretera con la nueva tablilla o placa de auto hispana conmemorando los 500 años del descubrimiento de Florida por Juan Ponce de León.
Obtén tu tablilla hispana este año y harás la diferencia.
Solo 1,000 se necesitan para hacerla permanente.
Su donativo ayudará a estudiantes con becas.
Nuestra comunidad se beneficiará con más programas y servicios.
Resalta nuestra cultura, nuestras raíces.
Demostremos que en la unión está la fuerza.
Obtén tu tablilla hispana en el Departamento de Vehículos de Motor más cercano o llama hoy al 321-277-0850.
Hi, I'm Danny Ramos, and welcome to this week's edition of the Hispanic Speak Out TV, brought to you on Bright House Cable Channel 49 every week. We've been on the air for the past 9 years. We talk about Hispanics and the effect they have on the local Central Florida community. We'd like to extend our congratulations to Pete Clark, who is now an Orange County Commissioner, my friend Pete. Congratulations, and I'm glad you beat Mr. Damiani, who was responsible for breaking up District 3 so that Hispanics could not elect one of their own. Thank you, Pete. We'll see you soon. We'll see you probably next week on this show. I'm here with Dennis Freitas, Colonel Dennis Freitas, retired U.S. Army, and an advocate for the Puerto Rico statehood issue. And of course, my friend over here, Jose, Jose, yes. Jose Miranda from radio station fame. But when they kicked him out of the radio station, he decided to come over here. They didn't kick him out, actually. I went over there and I asked him to join me. That's the only honest thing that happened. Okay, let's talk about Puerto Rico. And we had Tony Suarez here last week, and he gave us his views on Puerto Rico. And I know that you're an advocate of Puerto Rico statehood.
I'm a patriot.
You're a patriot. Yeah, we know that. I can tell by the hat.
And I wear this hat not to honor myself, but to honor the units I've served with.
Okay. And why don't you bring us up to date on what's going on with Puerto Rico and the statehood issue? I know they had a plebiscite recently, a vote, and it turned out in favor of Puerto Rico becoming a state of the United States. So bring us up to date from your perspective. I know that you've been on this issue for at least a decade.
Well, and maybe more.
Yeah.
Danny, Puerto Rico is a very complex issue. It's not only about a group voting on the status question. That's what everybody's talking about. Oh, this group, they got to vote whether they're a state or they're independent or el soberano, whatever. But it's more than that. It's a lot more than that. And people don't talk about the issue that hits at the essence of our democracy. It hits at the heart. And I will ask, what is that? In our representative democracy, that is consent of the governed. If you can't vote in federal elections, if you don't have just representation in federal elections to the Congress that determines her destiny, then there is no representative democracy. And America is supposed to be the example, the shining star for democracy in the world. So the issue in Puerto Rico is more than a group vote on that. It is about equal rights. It's about civil rights. And it's very important. So what's happened in Puerto Rico was, since 1898, Puerto Rico was taken by force by the United States and made a U.S. territory. In 1902, the Supreme Court determined that Puerto Rico was a non-incorporated territory of the United States, and that has not changed. Then in 1917, they imposed a U.S. citizenship without all the rights and all the responsibilities. That's a second-class citizenship. I've got Governor Jeb Bush on tape saying that. I've got an Attorney General Thunberg saying that. Senator Graham, a Democrat, on the Senate floor.
So basically you're saying what the bottom line is that Puerto Ricans, the Congress of the United States is treating Puerto Ricans illegally. There is no foundation for their designation in the Constitution of the United States.
What I'm saying is the Congress of the United States is politically oppressing Puerto Rico. Like former patriots have said, like former patriots said, after 115 years of Puerto Rico being the oldest territory under the American flag, and like former American patriots have said, there is a tyranny of a majority. And in order for democracy to function, a representative democracy, you must protect individual civil rights, and the citizenship must be equal. Congress should have thought about that in 1917 when they imposed that citizenship.
Well, you know, in 1917, Puerto Rico wasn't economically developed. There wasn't the kind of awareness there is now. So I think that the Puerto Ricans are now not only them on the island, but the Puerto Ricans that live on the mainland are bringing this all to a head. The basic problem that you're talking about, to give them an illustration, I know you're a military guy, so if you fought in Afghanistan as a Puerto Rican, you cannot vote for President of the United States if your residence is in Puerto Rico.
That is correct.
And you cannot vote for the commander-in-chief under who you serve.
That is correct. And we have National Guard units and all residents of Puerto Rico that are fighting today, and the U.S. 65th Infantry Regiment that since 1899 has been fighting and defending the flag of the United States for all of us, not just for Puerto Rico, fought in World War II, fought in the Korean War, and Puerto Ricans are fighting the World War on terrorism. To me, it's a disgrace that these American veterans cannot vote, and that's why I, as a patriot, say we've got to change this.
Well, let me be the devil's advocate here, because for the last 45 years...
You've always been the devil's advocate on this show.
The Puerto Ricans have not voted in favor of statehood. Okay, they have not instituted it. It's been brought upon the population of Puerto Rico. I'm not talking about the population of New York City or any place else where Latinos reside that happen to be of Puerto Rican descent. Mm-hmm. Okay, and they voted it down except for this time. And even in this occasion, you have a governor who's against statehood, who indicates that the vote of 61 or 61% is not sufficient enough to bring it forward to Congress.
And then this governor, let's just go with that. This governor that you say, which is Alejandro Padilla, and so far he's doing good in his transition team. But as far as the status question is, he won with 47% of the vote. In a democracy, in a representative democracy, it is that the citizen is responsible and had the opportunity to vote. They had the responsibility, had the opportunity, and statehood got 61%. So why can this guy with 47% be elected when he didn't get a majority, and when statehood got a majority and people had the responsibility and the opportunity? So those are the excuses that for ages have kept our Puerto Ricans oppressed. And I'm answering your question. Then the other thing about you mentioning that I started in the program. What's more important in our democracy? Isn't it equal civil rights, or a group or a tyranny of a majority keeping other people oppressed? Once you get U.S. citizenship, it should be equal. And also, people don't know that if you're born in Puerto Rico, you're born under an act of Congress that a future Congress can change. So that means that Puerto Ricans that are born in Puerto Rico have a statutory citizenship, and it's not permanent, because the 14th...
So you're saying that if I was born in Puerto Rico and I'm 16 years old, okay, and I'm a citizen of the United States, when I'm 17, I may not be a citizen of the United States?
If a future Congress decides otherwise, there was a law passed that said that if you're born before 1941, you have a statutory citizenship. And then it said if you're born after 1941, you are a born citizen of the United States. But they don't say you're naturalized, because under the 14th Amendment, there are only two forms of permanent citizenship. You're either born in a state, it doesn't say born in a territory, and I've got the Constitution right here, and I can read off of it. And secondly, if you're naturalized. So there is, and since in 1902, Puerto Rico is a non-incorporated territory. There are those, and there's no Supreme Court decision that has determined otherwise. There are those that say, well, since the 14th Amendment doesn't apply to Puerto Rico, the people that are born in Puerto Rico are not permanent, and nobody talks about it.
Let me bring up something real interesting, okay? I wasn't born in Puerto Rico. That's not the part that's interesting.
You don't have any problem.
Okay, that's not the part that's interesting. But I'm referred to as a New Yorican because I was born in New York. So the guys in Puerto Rico, okay, which are family members that I have in Puerto Rico, do not consider me a real Puerto Rican because I was born in New York. So the designation New Yorican. So the question is it any of our business, since they do not even consider us Puerto Rican, to be poking our nose into their business?
It isn't any of our business.
Let me say who the business is. I was born in Manatí, Puerto Rico. Estoy aquí como el gallo de Manatí. And if you're born in Puerto Rico and residing in the States, there's still that gray cloud. So that means that I have legal standing because any decision that Puerto Rico makes affects me if they voted for independence.
You were born in Puerto Rico.
If they voted for independence. So there's a lot of people.
Where I was going with this, is what right do Puerto Ricans who are born in the United States have the right, and there's distance from the culture. Right. The Puerto Ricans don't even consider them Puerto Ricans. So what right do I have to impose my political view on Puerto Ricans?
And on top of that, if you left the island and you now reside within the confines of the mainland, what rights do you have to the island other than you were born there?
Well, I just mentioned.
Other than you were born there,
I have the right because let me say,
make your money here.
Under precedent, I'm not resigning anything. I'm a Puerto Rican and proud of it, and my mother, my family lives there, and an ethnic group, Puerto Rico is under the United States. If somebody is born in New York or it's born in California, in Texas, they have their cowboys, and they might live here, but I mean, everybody appreciates their roots and their ethnicity.
Okay. Do you feel that Puerto Ricans who are born in the United States have the right to impose or get involved in the political destiny of Puerto Ricans who are born in Puerto Rico?
This is a democracy and everybody has the right to speak. But all Puerto Ricans that are residing in the United States that were born in Puerto Rico have a right to vote in a plebiscite because there are presidential reports that says if Puerto Rico were to become an independent, those that had a statutory citizenship could lose it. We're at the mercy of Congress, not under the Constitution.
Well, I agree with you.
So those that are born there. Okay. So that has never been brought up. And by the way, I come prepared. Every word I say is in here. Okay. I've got laws, I've got Supreme Court decisions and everything else. Because one of the problems we have is misinformation, people not knowing the facts. We have the politicians distortioning the truth. We have the politicians with demagoguery, with political rhetoric. And we got to clear through that. We got to see what the truth is. We got to patriotically say, in America, we want one equal U.S. citizenship. And the plebiscite said 61%. So it is the duty of Congress to admit Puerto Rico as the 51st state in the nation. Puerto Ricans have been fighting for 115 years.
Either that or give them independence.
Well, the people have spoken, and it's not for us, the elitists, to determine. The only two honorable options is statehood or independence.
Right.
Because and this El Soberano is an excuse because a nation can't be sovereign with the citizenship or the constitution of another nation. So that still maintains U.S. territory, which is undemocratic. We must advance. When the Constitution came up, the territorial clause was in the original articles. And our founding, did we have a founding? Let me finish my thought. Did we have any founding fathers, any founding mothers there? First, the founding fathers under the territorial clause had slaves, and they weren't focused. They weren't focused on equality, on equal citizenship. They were focused on the land, on the federal government. What's more important, the territorial control of the land or the U.S. citizen? What's more important, to have equality or have second-class citizens?
All right, Dennis, thanks a lot. And Jose, we'll be back again next week. We're going to cover the Puerto Rican issue again next week with another guest. We will see you next week on Hispanic Speak Out TV, Bright House Cable Channel 49. Talk to you later. See you next week.